Welcome back to another episode of Speak the Devil's podcast. I am Dom Fusco, alongside with me, Sammy St. Jean and Sam Glavin. And as always, we are sponsored by The Grazery. And this week, fellas, again, we are able to talk about some Dickinson sports. So a couple forgettable losses on the Dickinson athletic fronts this week. But however, we did have two. We had a big win, quadruple overtime with men's lacrosse. And baseball, splitting with Hopkins, which, Sam, as you mentioned last week, I think it's been a while since Dickinson's beat Hopkins on at D Park. So a huge win for those two teams, and looking forward to getting into it. So, guys, what's going on? How we doing?
Doing well.
Yeah, doing great. Definitely feel good about that split. First game was a tough loss, but came back around in the second game, so it was good.
Yeah, so kind of just let's dig our heels into that the baseball games first. So first game, second game, I know these doubleheaders, they're long days, especially just with not having played in over a year. So what did you guys do differently in the second game that you didn't do in the first game?
I thought that the pitching was better overall. Just everything kind of just was better overall. We didn't walk as many guys as we did in the first game. We started having better approaches up at the plate later in the game. And then, Bo Dana came in and closed it down like he always does for us. So Ethan Hamilton came out and threw, I think, seven innings after he gave up one run in the first inning and then didn't give up any after that, which was huge out of the freshman. And then Bo Dana came in to close the last two innings and then won the game for us, which was fantastic. I know that the bats definitely came alive in the later part of the game, but yeah, in the first game it was just kind of we made some errors, and Hopkins is definitely not a team you want to make errors against. And it was one bad inning where they scored 6 of their 9 runs in one inning. So I think if you take away that inning, that game's a different story. So it was all around. It was a good weekend.
Sam, you got anything on that front?
Yeah, I mean, just from what I was able to tune in for a good bit of at least the second game, and I will say I tuned in right when they started scoring, so maybe it was my influence why Dickinson won. We'll leave that to be determined. But I when I showed up, I noticed a lot of timely hitting, especially when they needed that rally. I believe it was in the 6th inning, bottom of the 6th inning. You saw Pell get a huge hit, driving to one of the first RBIs, and then Derek Smith following that one back up, and you just saw a lot more. I was very impressed by the younger guys, even maybe sophomores who didn't get hit last year as much, just coming in with good approaches towards the end of that game. I believe it was Mazzoni. I saw him get a nice sack bunt down. Did not expect to see that one. Definitely impressed me there. And then Bo Dana shutting the door. I mean, what do you have, a 4-pitch first inning in relief? I mean,
it was a 3-pitch first inning.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That definitely saved the arm for the rest of the season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he looked really good. He was pumping. He was throwing absolute gas as well.
Yeah, Johns Hopkins looked very outmatched against Bo.
No, they definitely were. Most teams are. He's a very special. He's got a very special arm. I think he topped. I want to say he topped. We had the radar gun on him. I think he topped 95. That game. So he was throwing gas. He was throwing gas for sure.
Looking ahead, Sam, who do you guys got this weekend? Gettysburg, correct?
I believe it's Gettysburg. Yeah,
Gettysburg. All right, cool. So what's the outlook on that this coming weekend?
It should be a weekend where we can take 2. I think they're also a team that I've had success against in the past. We swept them last year, or my freshman year. I'm sorry, we didn't play them last year, but. Yeah, I think that I can't remember who they've played. I checked last night, but I know that they're below us in the standings right now, which is always good to see. And they got
I believe they got swept. They got swept by WAC, and they split against Muhlenberg.
Okay, so they're 1-3. Yeah, so Washington College is a great team, but I think we outmatch Gettysburg in almost every way. So I think we'll be okay if we do everything right. If we do everything we need to do, we should be able to take 2 from them.
Gotcha. All right, and now moving on to the other victorious team this weekend. Lacrosse continues. They are 2-0 with a hard-fought quadruple overtime win on Biddle this weekend, 11-10. I did not have the chance to watch it this weekend, or your game, Sam. I apologize. However, yeah, just really, really just sheer determination, grit, and a lot of persistence and resilience for this lacrosse team as they came back and beat Muhlenberg, which is always great to see. So, yeah, I mean, any of you guys able to catch the highlights, catch any of the game, anything like that?
I mean, I would just point to a couple players. Ethan Grossman had a great game from what I saw, and then obviously got to give the shout out to Tucker Booth, the 204 into the quadruple overtime. Coming up absolutely big, getting the game winner. So, I mean, anytime you look at a game like that, it's gonna be hard fought. It's gonna be close. There isn't gonna be a ton of standouts just because it's such a close battle. But anytime you can pull out a game like that, it's one to remember. It's definitely a tone setter as well for the rest of the season. If you can pull out a game like that, second game of this season with very little reps, you've been practicing for a month.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, I didn't get a chance to see it because I was over at McPhail Field trying to beat up on some Blue Jays. But I think that anytime you have any kind of overtime winner, let alone a quadruple overtime win, I think it takes you guys and takes a team into some serious momentum going into the next week as well. Depending on, I don't know who they have next week. Maybe somebody can pull that up. But I think that bodes well for this week after a big win like that.
Yeah, I believe they have Gettysburg this week.
Also have Gettysburg. That's a huge one. A huge one. So that's big.
Yeah, that's home again. Home again against Gettysburg. So
okay.
Hopefully they continue the undefeated streak undefeated streak on Biddle to start this season. And around the league, around Dickinson Athletics, we have our first women's lacrosse game this Wednesday. They take on McDaniel, so hopefully continue the trend of whipping up on the Green Terror this year. And then softball. Who do we have this week with softball?
Let's see.
I believe softball is Gettysburg as well.
Yeah.
Softball is Gettysburg as well. All right. It seems like okay. So I think we're starting to see that we tend to play the same teams every weekend in all teams. But all things considered, really, really good job this weekend, Sam, with you guys taking down Hopkins, and then lacrosse taking down Muhlenberg. And we're just gonna move along here, and hopefully we can just keep racking up more W's for the Red Devils.
Absolutely,
definitely.
Yeah. So all right, now we are going to move into our second segment, with a very special guest, Christian Payne. So we'll see you in the next segment.
Healthy, not boring. That's not just the motto of the Grazery, but it's also their promise to you. Visit Grazery today and indulge on fresh Mediterranean-inspired salads, sandwiches, and soups, among other great options on a menu that serves both breakfast and lunch. Eat in or take out. No reservation needed here. So hurry on down to 156 West High Street, just yards from the campus, and enjoy a fresh and feel healthy meal today.
All right, everybody, we are back with our interview of the day, which is our former fearless leader and still a man that we have all taken many things away from and are grateful to have on the show, Christian Payne. Christian, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. And I love how you're still repping the red.
Always wearing the red. I'm excited to be here and thrilled to see what you all are doing, and Phoebe and both podcasts. It's incredible, and there's no confines of the season. There's been so many challenges and changes this last year, and what you all are showing is that sports isn't just bound to the game, right? There's so many more stories and people that need to share what's important to them. So I'm really excited to catch up with you guys. It's good to talk with you last week, Sammy. Dom, love what you're seeing through your podcast as well. And looks like baseball got a win over Hop over the weekend. Let's go.
Yeah, that's right.
So Christian, I want to start with something we just talked about before we started recording here, and that was you got back on the mic and were able to call a game for the first time in I think more than 2 years this past weekend. So how did that come about, and what was it like? How did it feel to get back calling a game?
Shake off the dust. No, this old man still got it. I can still call a game. I love it. That was the thing that drew me to Dickinson University as a student, because at the time, back pre-Twitter, there was the promise of, hey, we'd love to broadcast games. We just don't really know how to do it or what it would look like. So I went there to play lacrosse as well. And being a student athlete, growing up in Salisbury, Maryland, I love lacrosse. It's definitely a sport where I've been very fortunate to get a lot personally and then also professionally. And the ability to do that as a student at Dickinson, then segued into multiple opportunities professionally. So if you take just the moment yesterday, well, there's years that built up to that opportunity to be able to put the headset back on. Here in Indianapolis, we've got a great sports city. And actually, it was a pretty neat weekend because the March Madness tournament was going on simultaneously up at Hinkle Fieldhouse. My wife and I, we actually lived in a house just down the street from Hinkle for the first 2 years. We just got a new place. And I got to know people on campus just from networking, and went to the business school there, got to know some folks, and then basically was just excited to actually meet some students. So one of the business professors, I asked him, I said, hey, who are your top students? I'd love to meet with them. Maybe some students who are interested in sports. So there's one student who was very interested in sports broadcasting. His name's Joey Lindstrom, very talented. He just graduated and played football at Butler. So he's been calling some of the games, and he said, hey, we'd love to have you come do lacrosse. So I actually got to broadcast with him, and it's been just really exciting to get back out there. There's nothing like it. And it was really neat too, just to take a step back and say, wow, I'm watching a live action game, right? So nothing's been going on basically for the past year. So there's a lot of gratitude there, and I love it. There's nothing like being on the call for a lacrosse game.
You want me to go, Sammy? All right. Sorry. So Christian, when you what would you say your biggest accomplishments were while you were here at Dickinson?
You guys, I mean, this right here. So I was hired as a 23-year-old by Dr. Les Pullman, who was very excited and ambitious. And I'll never forget this. He said, walk before you can run. So I said, Les, how about let's get this camera? And he goes, well, maybe could we get the other one that's not as expensive? I'm like, trust me, it's going to be awesome. So we got a really nice piece of equipment. And what I look at is like, okay, you can have the best resources in the world, but you have to be resourceful. So that's what I see is like what you guys are doing right now. Yes, there's no games, but being resourceful, what can we do? How can we be creative? How can we create value and ultimately serve and empower through sports? So I was just thinking about it, heading into the conversation, so many moments. There's so many games, accomplishments, accolades in the classroom that I was fortunate to share the stories of, and also in the community as well. Being a part of something at Dickinson, like I said, as a student, and just thinking what we could do, growing that Dickinson Sports Network. Now there's about 40 kids in that program. I just spoke with one as well who's interested in going to the Newhouse program too, just like Keenan did from RDSN. So it has to be the Red Devil Sports Network, but then more importantly, just the energy that comes from that. And you can build a life and a career based on the Saturdays where you wake up early and you set up all the stuff, and you're there, right? And you do it because you love it. So actually going back to Butler yesterday reminded me of that, right? You're still setting up the camera, you're still doing the audio checks. So at Dickinson, being there twice as well was just an incredible opportunity. Very special to my wife and I for many reasons, and it's just you guys. And I think that what I've learned is I certainly miss Dickinson. I miss sports a little bit every day, but like I said, it's not bound to a season. So these are lifelong relationships, and that's something that a school like Dickinson does and will continue to do no matter what the challenge is.
No, absolutely. I actually kind of want to go back to maybe your time at Dickinson and say, what were like the initial challenges with you and RDSN?
So I had come from television. That was my first job. So that's really from Denison, you're in the liberal arts curriculum. So you're learning public speaking, rhetoric, writing, all those things were very important. And then my first job was in TV. So literally putting pen to paper, working on deadlines, learning how to shoot. That's really how I learned how to do that and how to edit. So in coming in, we know we need someone, we know we need something, we just don't know how and when this is going to happen. So another lesson for people in the phase of job seeking is just do the next right thing and always follow up and make a great first impression and provide value. So I was hired by Dickinson in 2013, and that was that summer. And literally that May was the best season that Dickinson men's lacrosse has ever had. So the team was 18-0, had Brandon Palladino, 4-time All-American, Player of the Year, Matt Cherry, a ton of good players. And Coach Webster, their team was super favored, right? And I was fulfilling one thing I always wanted to do as a kid. Growing up in Salisbury, Maryland, I was the voice of the Seagulls. So Salisbury and Dickinson, I'm like, this is awesome. And I remember driving in, I was like, oh, okay, because I looked at Dickinson way back when, and I was like, this is a great town. People are really friendly. I had to ask where to go, and a student helped me get to the stadium. I was like, oh, that's really nice. And then I'd end up calling that game. So long story short, it was back and forth. It was a great battle, and Dickinson ended up losing. Salisbury won. So it was an 18-1 season there in 2013. But I remember, it's like anything. There were some tech difficulties. That was the first time I ever met Charlie McGuire, who still remains one of my very best friends and colleagues, and Dr. Les Pullman, the athletic director, many other people. So obviously they were disappointed from the loss, but we just built a good rapport. And little did I know, 3 weeks later on a Friday night, I saw the job get posted on Posada. So I applied right away. I was like, this is what I'm looking for. And I did an interview with the Salisbury guys, and I was being congratulatory and also named the Dickinson guys, Brandon Palladino, Matt Cherry, by name in the interview. And then when Dr. Pullman hired me, he said, Christian, you did your homework. And that very little video, we saw that you cared and you were paying attention. So everything in the podcast, all the prep, all those things will get noticed. And then years down the line, just pay dividends in so many new ways. So the challenges there was just there's no structure. And also it was like, I'm one person. And as nice as it was as a 23-year-old to be doing something fun and exciting and learning how to build something, right? We have 23 programs. And then we added squash too. So there's no way that one person could do it all. And even though you want to, you got to learn how to delegate and coach. And really the best gratification, the best reward comes from coaching. So there's a few students. The first student I ever connected was Adam Spinella. I was coach basketball at Dickinson. And he's had 2 chapters, coming in to the program too. It was really nice to work with him again. And it was pretty cool. Remember Adam, like where we were 5 years ago. And, we did his first few productions, and, I look back on them and it was like, wow, like some of those things that we tried were very bold, or the production quality wasn't very good. But you know what? It's like, the first time you ever try a stand-up or a broadcast, it's not going to be good. You got to learn how to fail. You got to learn how to innovate. So then across the years, we're able to get some structure to it. Also, there's no communication program. There's no direct feeder. So we had to get creative, and I was meeting professors and people in the community. Hey, do you have a student who wants to go into media? And then just fostering those relationships. So in those early years, certainly we had to get things connected. A lot of the venues didn't have internet. It was like building the groundwork and then kind of building the expectation of every sport matters, every game matters, every athlete has a story. So back then we even did video rosters. So it was before Instagram really. So my goal was to have every athlete have a piece of what we're doing. And then over the years, it's, evolved very, very well along with technology. So, it was the structure, and then just basically the last thing is the belief, right? Belief that we're going to win in those games, and also being one of the best student organizations, volunteer at that through Red Devil Sports Network.
Yeah, so obviously you had a big hand in the community, in the Dickinson community, and you and your wife were you did a lot for the school and also in the Carlisle area. And I know it's a place that you hold near and dear to both of your hearts. So was it difficult having to leave and then, make the transition to Indy?
Yeah. So Gracie and I actually met through Jessie Wallace. This is Jessie Poe is her name now. She has coached with women's lacrosse, and she was a goalkeeper herself. So that was a mutual friend, and she introduced us. So again, I have a lot to thank to the lacrosse world. And so I asked Gracie to be my girlfriend on campus by Benjamin Rush. So then a few years later, when it was come time to propose, I'm like, well, we just got to do it again. So I had this whole thing planned, and we were supposed to meet at the G-Man with her sister and brother-in-law. And then I had a note like, come meet me at campus. And she actually the first time we met, it was just in a gathering, and she actually gave me her business card. And I was like, oh, this is cool. And I was like, maybe we'll just connect on LinkedIn, right? So the technology is a really good thing. And it's a funny story that we love to share. And basically I was like, oh, I don't know what I did with it. She asked me if I had it again. Well, I saved it. And then I wrote, will you marry me on it? And I was waiting with roses by Ben Rush. So Dickinson's a romantic place for us. So many memories, so many good things. And when it came time to make the decision, it was easy because Joel, number one, and working with him and showing what he does through his hard work and his values, he loves his family. And Dickinson in many ways is his family. So for me to make that choice was easy from the standpoint of this is what's best for my family. My wife is very talented. She's a pastor in the Presbyterian church, and she had an offer out here at one of the best churches. It'd be like going to work for, an ACC's program like Duke or Louisville, go Cards. I'm also a grad there. So, that was easy. But Dom, it was really hard. I was brought to tears when I packed up my office because there's just so many, there was the pictures, all the memories. I'm like, man, I'm going to miss this. And then, and coming out to Indianapolis, it was even harder because, nothing's given, right? I worked really hard. I thought there'd be an opportunity, and it just didn't work out. So I would offer is don't be discouraged, especially if you're coming out of school, you don't have a job. I didn't have a job when I graduated. I got one a few months later. So just be patient and be persistent. And then with COVID starting, I really took a step back, and I was like, why did I do all this? What did I really enjoy about sports, about Dickinson, all these things? And ultimately just helping people with an important goal. So I grew up, a lot of my parents' friends were realtors, real estate, big in Maryland where I'm from. So that was kind of the thing that I would do if I wasn't in sports. So I just hit the books again. I studied for that, became a licensed realtor over the summer. And I love helping my clients. There's a great reward in that. It's certainly a huge goal for many folks in trying to pursue their first home, or I've even helped people get their retirement home. So it's really great. And I bring a team aspect to that. You got a game plan for your buyers and for your sellers. And then also it gives me the flexibility to do other things that I really enjoy. So such as broadcast on a Sunday over at Butler. And then in addition to that, I'm a sales and business development professional, and I learned a lot of that through my work at Dickinson, a little bit, mostly at Louisville. And I'm the general manager of Cycle Bar Indoor Cycling. So now, again, kind of similar at Dickinson, we didn't really know what it could be, and then built it up. I love coming into places and kind of shaping the culture by just asking people great questions, putting them in positions to succeed. So when I took over Cycle Bar in August, post-pandemic, with still going on as it is today, there was a lot of fear, uncertainty, where do we go? How do we do this? We only had 74 members, and now we have 226. And actually for this month in March, we're closing in on the top 10. We're in the top 15 in new memberships, new people welcome to our studio for all cycle bars. And it's the world's largest indoor cycling franchise. So also I'm an athlete. I love doing that. It keeps me active. And there's a team aspect to it as well. So it was really hard. I still miss it a lot, but there's always ways to be involved in things just like this, and continue to broadcast and be active in the community in the athletic world.
So I guess aside from proposing to your wife on campus, what would be your favorite Dickinson moment?
Ooh. Oh, wow. There's no way I can pick one. Oh my gosh. I have to kind of start at the beginning. Well, yeah, and the first one, I'm still a Seagulls fan, but that was really cool because I actually had talked to Coach Webster and recruiting and everything, and I just really appreciated how honest he was and he cared about the program. So that was neat to reconnect with him there and then be able to interview with him a few weeks later. And then just I still have the voicemail saved on my phone from Les from 2013 offering me the job. So that was pretty cool personally. And then right away, that was when the Klein Center didn't even have the renovation. So I remember there was a opportunity for all the students, whether you're an athlete or not, you could come sign the beam that was going up, and it was really cool. So it was this moment of unity that everybody was going to be part of this new fitness center. I really liked that one. Then all of the academic awards, like swimming got it every year. I felt really good about that. And then from a just athletic pure standpoint, I remember the Jerry Wickstead teams. It was the first championship I was able to be a part of. Coach Soretti, Chris Cox, Steve Collins, and those teams were great. And they beat Johns Hopkins on their floor. And there's this photo, I have it still. You can't keep me on the sideline. If you remember me, I'm active, I'm running around. So video is an active sport. So I'm running with the camera and the red lights on, and Jerry's going like this, holding up the 2 because they won 2 when he was there. That was really cool. And then at that time, RDSN was just starting to grow. So I remember Keenan did an interview that day. I think he was maybe a freshman or a sophomore. And then other sports moments for sure. There's some baseball walk-offs. Without a doubt, softball. Madison Milashevsky pitching a great game. Winning that over Haverford was a host. That was awesome. Joel, Charlie, and I went to that. That was fantastic. I got dumped water on me and Coach Rich Wine a few times during that. That was super fun. Lacrosse winning the championship at Gettysburg was pretty incredible. That they had a really strong team, and Brody Phillips just fired a laser. And it was cool because it was literally there was more Dickinson fans than Gettysburg fans in the stands. It was really, really awesome. And then Nick Goals that year beat Washington and Lee, a last minute goal, which was pretty neat. So there's so many different sports moments. And those are the ones that are just coming to mind too. And but there's also I remember Dickinson baseball with Matt Kosis. That was awesome. The relationship that was built there. And the first time I ever got to meet Matt and share that story was very impactful. And then just to see the consistent, all the fundraising, all the good things that go on through community service was wonderful.
So I know we're a little short on time now, so I guess I'll ask you a quick personal question. Since you moved to Indianapolis, I have to ask, are you an adopted Colts fan, 1? And 2, who do you have winning your bracket? Since you're just so close, I have to know.
Oh man, this is actually kind of embarrassing. So being in sports all the time, I don't know. This year actually didn't do a bracket, but my wife did. So we have a family bracket, and Michigan is still in it. So, and my buddy Sean's a big Michigan fan, so we picked it for him. And then, yeah, I would say, I guess, but here's the thing. So I grew up in Maryland, right? And the Colts were the Baltimore Colts. So my dad kind of was super bummed about that, right? But he really liked Peyton Manning, and Peyton's years were, all growing up, which is really cool. Actually, it was really cool through my wife's work. We got invited last year in person. We got to go to the W Hotel. It was a fundraiser for the Peyton Manning Children's Hospital. So we donated to that, and they had Brett Eldridge and a concert and great dinner. And then this year, obviously, it was virtual. So it was cool. It was Peyton Manning and Brandon Stokely right here in my living room on Zoom. So they got to have a conversation. We got to be on Zoom and watch it. So I would say No, but I just did. I'm a Ravens fan, and also going to Louisville. Lamar Jackson being in the Ravens is super exciting. But one thing I did get to do actually is one of our members at Cycle Bar is on the Colts sales team. So I taught a private ride for the Colts employees, and they loved it. So it was fun. It was very fun. I guess that's the closest I'll get to being an official fan. But Lucas Oil is awesome. I got a private tour of it. I met the manager that runs the whole facility, and Indy, as you see right now, is all about sports. So I did some NCAA conventions with Joel and the Centennial Conference athletic directors, did some programs when I was here at Louisville. It's a great place. So please, anybody from Dickinson, connecting here today, I miss you guys. You're doing great. Keep working hard. And if you're in the area, please contact me. I'd love to see you and show you through the city. And if you're looking to get into sports, so many great connections, a lot of wonderful people here.
Cool. I guess, Christian, the last question we have for you is one that we ask a lot of our guests, and it's when you hear wearing the red, what does that mean to you?
Commit, compete, care. So I had that written on, at a whiteboard. It was really cool. Actually, we did like different quotes, and like Paul Richards would do it, sometimes Charlie or Coach Webster. And then we were trying to think about just where we're headed and what we want to do. So those 3 words, definitely, commit, deciding what you want to do and going after it, compete, right? We go to win. And it starts with the mentality, and then care. You've got to not only lead forward, but have a hand open to help someone else be a part of what you do. So I'm so proud. It's been fantastic. Justin Farrell, I love to see his work. He and I actually connected years ago. He and his family are incredible, and talk about wearing the red. I love that. I'm so happy for him and for all the growth, and also just Charlie. He and I work together hand in hand, and to see that, and then it's pretty cool because there's even alumni that will still stay in touch, and you just put the WTR there on the signature, and there's always a connector. So I was very fortunate to be a part of the Red Devil family, officially, wearing this shirt to work every day in 2 different seasons, but it'll always be a part of me. And, you can't, this is the academic logo, so you've got to have athletics and academics, right? So cheers.
Absolutely. I think that wraps it up. You guys good?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So Christian, as always, thank you for everything that you've done, for us and RDSN, but for also the Carlisle community, Dickinson as a whole, and continuing to stay connected and, help and coach people to do the things that we love. So thank you so much. And, we wish you nothing but the best in the future.
Wearing the red, right?
Absolutely.
And red, roll Devs.
Go
All right,
Devils.
Christian. Thank you.
Complex is something no coach or athlete wants to deal with, which is why every team aims to keep schemes and execution simple so success is easy to achieve. That's the game plan used by the Grazery right here in Carlisle. Simple ingredients that are fresh, healthy, and above all, delicious. Healthy, not boring food that is not just good, but good for you. Made from only the healthiest and simple ingredients. So come in today and enjoy a great meal made simple at Grazery, located at 156 West High Street in Carlisle, Pennsylvania.
Okay, so we'll keep this last segment somewhat short. We'll go over our quick, kind of an NCAA tournament update, and then we will list the games that we have this upcoming week for Red Devil Athletics. So as we all know, most brackets are busted. I am in the lower, for sure, the lower quadrant of my bracket. Sam, I know yours sucks as well. And Sammy, last time we talked to you, you're doing pretty good. So why don't we just go to that? How's your bracket doing? Can you do well for the rest of us?
Not as well as I would like to. I had Florida State beating Michigan, even though I'm a Michigan fan. I was not a believer, but I was wrong. So at least as a fan, I'm doing all right. But I still, my championship game are the last 2 teams I have alive in the Elite Eight. So we're still pulling for the Muss Bus, and we're still pulling for Gonzaga right now. So those are my last hopes at this point.
Yes, we are certainly pulling for the Muss Bus.
Yep, definitely. I only have one team correct in the Elite Eight, and it's Michigan, and I have them winning it all. So my bracket currently is on ESPN like ESPN's Tournament Challenge app, is at 8.8%, which is, I think, the worst I've ever done. This is by far the worst bracket I've ever put together. It's absolutely brutal. Yeah,
that's really bad.
I'm at like 83.6 right now, and it's quickly falling. I was at like 96 before, like with 2 games left in the weekend, and now I'm at 83. So
no,
go Gonzaga,
terrible.
Go Arkansas. It's really all I can hope for at this point. If Michigan wins, as like a fan, I won't be that mad, but like.
Yeah, I that's the only thing I got going for me right now is I have Michigan winning it all. So, and I like Martelli, so we also interviewed his son too. So that was partially why I picked Michigan, but they're a good team, so hopefully they pull it off.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So games this weekend. We have lacrosse, we have men's, women's lacrosse, we have baseball, we got softball. I believe we have tennis. Am I missing anything?
No, just men's lacrosse, women's lacrosse, both tennises. Baseball has 2, softball has 2, and then there's actually Wednesday. Just a reminder, McDaniel 4:30 women's lacrosse.
Nice. So we get them back on the field this week. I think everybody plays Gettysburg this coming weekend, correct?
Yeah.
Yes. There's also the Gettysburg Invitational for golf as well.
Okay. So hopefully we are able to sweep them, as we like to do. We always like to beat up on Gettysburg. And so I think that's kind of all we got for today. Thank you again to Christian Payne for coming on. If there's anything you guys want us to discuss further in the show, please reach out, let us know. We're always looking on how to make this a more enjoyable listening experience for all of you. So thank you for tuning in as always, and we'll see you next week. Roll Devs.